It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Georgia Southern assistant softball coach and hitting coach, Coach Heather Gelbard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brandon. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you a little bit more and to share with some of your listeners here.
It's wonderful. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get involved in college coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So like most college kids, like most college freshmen, I went to college and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so once I was in college, I was playing softball up at NC State. During my freshman year, at some point, I think it was over winter break, I went home and was visiting my friends and family in Miami, and the club team that I had played for, they had a tournament going on, and my old coach, Gator Rebhan, asked me if I would come coach with him in this tournament, and I did, and that's when the coaching bug bit me, and I'm telling you, I haven't looked back since, and it was so much fun helping the younger players and coaching them up, and as they say, the rest is history. I've been doing it ever since, and haven't really looked back, and loved every minute of it.
What was your time like playing at NC State?
Oh, it was awesome. I was thinking about it. I'm aging myself here a little bit, but I graduated 2007, so this is 2022, and so it's going to be 15 years now since I've graduated college. And looking back, when I went there, we were a first-year program. There was no team before I got on campus, so my freshman year in the 2003-2004 season was the first year of the program, which at the time I didn't quite, I don't think, appreciate just how cool that was to be part of something. I mean, because now you look back and it's a Power Five. They've been very successful. We were part of building that culture. And in my time there, really proud. Like I said, we started off with a first-year program. There was no team. And in my time there, we won the ACC championship, advanced to 2 NCAA regionals. We were a national seed in the softball regional tournament. And we didn't even have a home field yet. They were still building our on-campus field. So it's really cool to kind of look back now and just see how far it's come.
What was it like, obviously, putting on that red pack jersey?
I still remember that feeling as a freshman walking into the locker room that first day. And I mean, their locker room now is gorgeous, but back then it was literally a converted broom closet. And seeing all those jerseys for the first time, like, it still gives you goosebumps. Tremendous source of pride. Like I said, still very prideful to have been a part of that first year program. And I think, my teammates and I shared a lifelong bond that, nobody can ever take away. We went through something, we had some shared experience together, shared good times, shared adversity. And it was just being part of that and putting on that jersey. There's just such a sense of pride behind that.
What was it like, obviously, going through the NCAA tournament and making it, obviously, close to the College World Series during your time?
It was awesome. At the time, I mean, anything short of winning a World Series was a letdown, to be honest. We're a competitive group. We like I said, we were able to win the ACC championship in the third year of our program. We were very, very driven. So, it's tough to say, but you look back and not winning those regional games, not advancing even further. At the time, you kind of viewed it as a letdown. But I mean, looking back, putting some time gives you the wonderful gift of perspective. And looking back, it's obviously, you can see, like, we accomplished some really cool things. And I mean, like I said, I'm just very, very proud of what we were able to do.
Of course, coming out of NC State, what was it like, obviously, getting into the college coaching side?
I feel really lucky. I played at NC State for Lisa Navas and had a lot of great assistant coaches while I was there along the way. And I feel like they prepared me very well for college coaching. I don't know that anything prepares you fully, but I had a lot of great experiences, and I played for a coach that's a great teacher of the game. So I think that helped me. One other thing that helped me is I came into NC State as a third baseman. I really only played third base growing up. And while I was in college, I switched a little bit to second base. So I was able to learn a lot more of the footwork of the middle infield. And at the time, I mean, things don't always make sense moving forward, looking backward. I definitely see that that's helped me so much as a coach of being not that you have to be able to do things as a coach to have done, or as a player to do them as a coach, but learning some of the footwork and the intricacies of middle infield has definitely benefited me as a coach and in my coaching career working with infielders.
What was it like, obviously, coming out of college, getting your first job as the interim head coach for FIU?
Well, that wasn't my first job, actually. So my first job out of college, I can take you down my career path, really. So fresh out of college, I became a grad assistant softball coach at Barry University. Was there for 2 years, got my master's degree in exercise science and sports psychology. So kind of very softball related for that. From there, I was an assistant coach at Florida Atlantic University for 7 years. It was a really cool experience there. I got to work for a Hall of Famer. I mean, she's in like 20 Hall of Fames or something crazy like that with Joan Joyce. I had thought my ultimate career goal was wanting to be a head coach. Once I became a head coach at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, I realized really quickly that the job description between being a head coach and assistant coach are quite different. So I had that experience up there. Ironically, I went home to Miami to FIU to be an assistant coach for the guy that I played travel ball for that originally gave me my start in coaching at all, Gator Rebhan. Within 2 or 3 months of me working at FIU, the university and him parted ways. So that was kind of awkward. I got thrown into the interim coaching role in October. And I think it was just a couple days before we played our first fall game. So it was quite a shock to all the players. It was a shock to me. And like I said, the irony of it all is I went down to FIU to be an assistant coach, having been a head coach, and deciding that wasn't what I wanted. In hindsight, I can definitely tell you that experience up at UMBC and being a head coach up there is what led me to be somewhat successful at FIU and be able to navigate some of the challenges of a mid-year coaching change and losing a lot of the top players from the previous year, either transfers or injury or whatever else. So that was interesting. Then after things at FIU, I spent a year there. The university ended up hiring another head coach, and I went up to University of South Carolina to be the volunteer assistant. It was a great experience there, but I was there during COVID. So I started in August of 2019. It was the greatest. Fall was amazing, and everything was really cool up until March of 2020 when COVID hit, and that changed my life. Being a volunteer assistant, the NCAA allows for baseball and softball three paid coaches on staff, and then they allow for a fourth volunteer coach or an unpaid coach. So I was not getting paid by the university. I drew all my income from camps and clinics, which with COVID, they instituted a dead period, and that dead period lasted about 1.5 years. So I coached for about 1.5 years with no income from the university. And that was really rough, and got very fortunate that at the end of this past year, the job at Georgia Southern had opened up. They had hired Sharon Perkins, who I had known. She was a head coach at Georgia Tech my senior year at NC State. And things just kind of come full circle. And I'd always respected her. She's a fiery competitor, a great coach. Had always respected the way Georgia Tech played defense and had fun and the passion that they played with. And ended up talking to Coach Perkins, and we really hit it off right away. So I've landed at Georgia Southern, but your original question I know was at FIU. So what was it like being the interim head coach there? It was weird. Like I said, it was ironic because I went there to be an assistant because I didn't want to be a head coach. So be careful what you wish for. And I gotta say, like, the student athletes there were great. There are a lot of good people that were and still are associated with that program. And, I was very lucky. I had some great assistants alongside me. And we worked really hard, and, without without a couple transfers and some injuries to the pitching staff, I think we would have done a lot better. We ended up finishing 500 in spite of all those setbacks. But, it's a little hard when you're fighting with one arm behind your back most of the year. So I know that's a long-winded question for you, Brandon, but just wanted to give you the whole timeline.
Of course, what was it like, obviously, and what were some of your accomplishments as head coach at UMBC?
Well, I think you can't put this accomplishment on paper, but I learned a lot, including that I didn't want to be a head coach. At UMBC, every year we improved conference winning percentage. That was a big deal in a small conference. We were in the American East Conference, and they only send usually. They're not a conference that's getting at large bids to softball regionals. So my philosophy was build a really challenging non-conference schedule, and we were going to take our lumps and get beaten a lot in non-conference. But that was in order to prepare us for the conference season, and that philosophy did kind of ring true as every year we improved in conference, at least from the previous year. I also recruited and signed the pitcher that's up there now that is very dominant. I think she's been pitcher of the year, player of the year in their conference for the past couple of years. But I think my biggest accomplishment was really in a personal sense of learning what I wanted and what I didn't want in a position, in a job.
Of course, how has your time at games at South Carolina as a volunteer coach obviously helped you into where you are now at Georgia Southern?
Well, I learned a ton at South Carolina. I think, I really did love my time there. It's almost like I had several experiences in one, because my first year there, like I said, I started in August of 2019. Hit the ground running. I moved up there in August. I think we started practices in school the next day, kind of a thing. It was really, really quick, a whirlwind, which I think most coaching transitions are. And I loved my time there. In the fall, everything couldn't have been better. I was having so much fun. The players were working hard. And then, like a lot of people, COVID kind of changed things. So we were off to a great season. We were ranked in the top 20. We had some notable wins on our record. We had been very competitive in some other games. And then COVID hit and canceled the whole season. And that feeling was heartbreaking. Watching the student athletes go through that was something that, it still gets me. It was hard to see what that did to people. And I guess we were lucky because people out there were dying. So, our experience was bad, but it's certainly not as bad as it could be. But then as things continued on, we kind of thought we'd be back in a couple weeks once things died down, and March and April, and then, everything keeps rolling and the calendar keeps ticking, and we weren't coming back that year. So like I said, the NCAA allows baseball, softball, 3 paid assistants and a volunteer or unpaid assistant. And I was in that unpaid assistant role. So I drew my entire income from camps and clinics that we ran at South Carolina. And South Carolina has a tradition of putting on some really, really good camps and clinics. A lot of student athletes, recruits, future student athletes participate to not only get recruited, but learn to improve their game, learn new skills. And all of that got shut down. And it's a shame because, the NCAA had up for vote the previous year, a vote. They'd come to a vote whether they were going to add that volunteer position and allow it to be a accountable paid position. And I think that got voted down. It was a highly controversial thing, and I think it really kind of limited the growth of the game in a lot of ways. It limits the growth of future coaches, and I think if the NCAA truly cares about student athlete welfare, what could help student athletes more than giving them another coach? At college softball rosters commonly exceed 20 players, with more student athletes having COVID years. Those roster sizes are increasingly growing and growing. It's not going back. Rosters are not getting smaller, and baseball's the same way. Baseball has huge rosters as well. And to expect only 3 coaches to coach a team, it's just not the best way of doing things. So hopefully that is able to come up for a vote again soon. And hopefully that's something that changes. But, being a part of the SEC was awesome. It's an amazing conference. The level of competition is just so high. They say it's like a super regional every weekend. And I got to say it's true. The Southeastern Conference has invested in softball. And really a lot of conferences, if they invested in softball the way the SEC has, a lot of conferences could be just as dominant. But the SEC has put a lot of money in facilities and in their coaches and developing players. And, it shows. It's such a high level of competition. It was so much fun to be a part of.
Of course, what was it like, obviously, joining the Georgia Southern coaching staff and becoming the hitting coach?
Well, it was a whirlwind. Like I think most coaching transitions are a whirlwind. As a new staff, there's just so much you have to take on. So really the first time I've actually had to sit down and have a couple days to myself to reflect on this was just recently over the winter break. And it's been a great experience. And that's because of Sharon Perkins, our head coach, Mary Beth Dennison, our pitching coach, and the administration at Georgia Southern. I don't think I've ever been around an administration that is so supportive. I mean, our AD came out and hit in our batting cages off of our machine, and it was throwing drop balls that day. So we didn't take it easy on him. But, I've been at some places where the administrators, the ADs don't even know where the softball field is. And to have somebody that's so present, that's so supportive, that actually comes out, he knows these kids, on a first name basis, just by their, he sees them in the halls and he can say, hey, so-and-so. And that's just the investment. So being here at Georgia Southern and coming on board, it's been great. The staff is really on the same page. And, coming into a new team, you really don't know what to expect. I knew that there was a pretty good talent level because at South Carolina, we've competed against Georgia Southern for the past couple of years. And, really since coming on board, we asked them to do two things. We asked them to work hard and buy in, and they've done that 100%. And they've really exceeded our expectations. So it's been a lot of fun.
What does the recruitment process look like for prospective student athletes, and also the official visit look like?
Yeah, that's fun stuff. So the first thing I would say is everybody's recruitment process is a little bit different. So softball, you see a lot of kids playing travel tournaments, and there are a ton of those over the summer and some in the fall that we're allowed to go see. I really haven't recruited a ton of high school in the past, but Georgia high schools play in the fall, which is awesome because that's when we're in our off-season segment. So we're able to go watch a lot of Georgia high school games, which is awesome because Georgia high school, they really do things right in terms of how they treat softball. The facilities at some of these high schools rival a lot of lower division colleges, which, I mean, that's incredible, the investment they made in softball. So, kids are playing in tournaments. You try to go see as many kids as you can. I try to recruit like how, the baseball scouts do on the 5 tools, hitting for average, hitting for power, speed, defensive ability, and throwing arm. You're kind of looking at a lot of that, and then pitching is a whole nother animal. And, then once you see if they can physically play, then you got to figure out, character wise, do they fit for what your program and what you're looking for? And camps are a big part of that as well. Camps are really big because, that way you can work hands-on with the recruits, and they can work with you and see if it's a fit, because fit goes both ways. But then an official visit, if you have somebody that you're really interested in, you're bringing on campus, we'll show them the campus, make sure they see what their future dorm would look like, show them all of our facilities. We try to go to another Georgia Southern sporting event because I think the school spirit here, it rivals a lot of the Power Fives out there. Like, there is a lot of Georgia Southern Eagle spirit. Every high school game I went to at the fall, I'd be walking up to the field and somebody come up to and be Hail Southern or GATA, a couple of our, catchphrases. And I think the atmosphere is just really, really cool on campus. There's a lot of support for athletics and for sports. So we try to do that. But really the biggest thing for us is the recruits getting to know us, our staff and the team getting to hang out with us and finding out if it's a fit. Does the university fit academically what you're looking for? Does it have your major? Can you see yourself going to school here? Does it fit with the location you're looking for? We're located in Southeast Georgia. We're in a great location. Not everybody has that. But hey, there's some people that, want to be closer to the beach, which we're pretty close, but there's some people that want to be closer to the mountains. Again, you could go to the mountains from here in a day trip, but is location. Some people like being in the middle of a city. Some people like being a college town. Statesboro is an awesome college town. But does it fit what they're looking for in terms of the location? And then, does the coaching staff fit and the team fit what, where you fit in with the team? And, not every coach is for every player, and not every player is for every coach, and that's okay. But that's part of why they, I think come on a visit is to find out, do they mesh? Do they mesh with the team? Do they mesh with the coaches? Can they see themselves coming to school at this place?
Of course, do they get to try on the jersey at the official visit?
Yeah, so you can try on the jersey on an official visit, on an unofficial visit. They can take pictures. We can take pictures. We can't post those pictures. They can post the pictures. There are a ton of NCAA rules regarding that. So we actually have official visits coming up in like 2 weeks, and we're gonna do a big old photo shoot. We're gonna glam it up. They'll be trying on the jerseys. We've got the drop screen for for graphics and all that. So we're gonna have a good time. Let them have fun. And I know for kids it's a lot of fun to post all that stuff on social media. So we're gonna give them their moments to shine, so to speak.
What advice would you give future high school athletes looking to play college softball?
I think number one, work hard. I think focus on your development. I think development is huge. And when I say development, I mean, you have to get better at all your individual skills. You have to get stronger in the weight room. In softball, there's so much failure that the mental game is huge. And I think you have to really focus on yourself and not others. I mentioned social media, and I think it's really easy for high school kids to kind of look at everybody else's Twitter feeds or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever other social media stream has come out this past week. And it's really easy to compare yourself to others and feel like you're not as far along as other people are. And that's where some of the self-doubt and start playing mind games with yourself. So I think it's really important. Everybody kind of has their own journey. And everybody, so to speak, runs their own race. And I think it's really important that all high school kids kind of focus on themselves. I think that's great advice for life, but especially in the recruiting process. I mean, there are some kids that'll walk on campus one school and know that's where they're destined to go. And there are other kids that, might take a while to find the right fit. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure, you talked about the transfer portal. Everybody talks about the transfer portal. So even Dr. Pepper makes commercials about it. So I think it's really important to find your fit the first time around rather than having to waste some of the precious college experience in a place where it doesn't necessarily fit you. So I think it's really important to find a fit.
What advice would you give future college coaches looking to get started in the industry?
This is something I'm definitely passionate about. I'm very passionate about helping other coaches. So any other softball coaches out there, really coaches any sport, if I can ever be of any help to you, if you're listening, please feel free to reach out to me. But I would say advice-wise, I think it's really important to find mentors, have people around you that can kind of guide you. I was very lucky early on in my coaching career, like I said, to have a couple of those. I played for a great college coach, Lisa Navas. Initially, I worked for Joan Joyce. And like I said, she's in a million Hall of Fames. Like, this lady is amazing. But find mentors, people that are going to tell you the truth, that are going to help keep you growing in your career. And that's another thing I would say is you have to keep learning and keep growing and stay open-minded. I think early on in my coaching career, when I went to conferences and conventions, it was very comforting to hear big-time coaches and successful people doing the same thing I was doing, then I tried to mirror what they were doing. And now when I go to these conferences, I mean, I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing, but now I'm looking to go listen to people that are doing things differently than I do. And I want to hear what they're doing and why they're doing it and see if I can adapt what I'm doing to advance it, to make it better. So hearing people that are doing things specifically differently than me, that's something that I never really, when I heard early on in my coaching career, it was kind of like, my thought process was like, oh, am I doing it wrong? And what I've come to realize is there are a lot of different ways to get to the end goal, and you've got to find the ways that work for you. I'd also tell young coaches, be ready to pay your dues. It's really difficult. This is a profession that takes a lot of time if you want to be good at it. You have to invest a lot in other people and your student athletes. And a lot of times that comes with long nights and early mornings that you're not necessarily getting paid for. And it's just kind of part of the process right now. It's another reason I'm so passionate about that. Getting that fourth paid coach in NCAA softball. I think it'll really help grow the coaching profession. And then, the biggest thing in coaching is loyalty, doing right by the people that hire you. And I think that if you're loyal, if you do a good job, if you work hard, word gets around and you'll end up in the right places. But sometimes that takes time, and it's important to stay the course.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media along with the Georgia Southern program?
Oh boy. I'll give you my email because I know that off the top of my head. So my email is hgelbard. My last name is spelled GELBARD at georgiasouthern.edu. I think my Twitter handle is at Heather_Gelbard. I don't remember the details, but and Georgia Southern this year, we have a really competitive schedule. I'm not sure the exact website address, but if you Google it, it'll come up. We've got a great schedule coming up. We start games in February and looking to leave our mark.
Thank you again, Coach Heather Gelbard, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Hey, thank you so much, Brandon. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me. And I look forward to talking more at some point later on, maybe.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Heather Gelbard, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.